when everything that is created, if at all it dissolves one day, it dissolves back to Prakriti, moolaPrakriti. Everything goes back to moolaPrakriti and rests as moolaPrakriti, and then the creation starts once again. So this has a similar idea like the black hole. Everything goes back to a point, and from there the origin starts again. So it never finishes. That is the idea of Sankhya. The nature is not going to finish. It is there and staying as the moolaPrakriti. Sattva, Rajas, Tamas is the moolaPrakriti, and it stays as the root of Prakriti. And from there again it happens. The creation happens. അല്ലല്ല മൂലപ്രകൃതി എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് സത്വ രജ ആൻഡ് തമസ്. ഇല്ല 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 കറക്റ്റ് അങ്ങനെ. പുരുഷൻ പുരുഷനായി നിൽക്കുകയും പ്രകൃതി മൂലപ്രകൃതിയിൽ പോയിരിക്കുകയും ചെയ്യും. അതാണ് നമ്മൾ സയൻസ് ഇപ്പം അത് പറയുന്നുണ്ടല്ലോ. ഈ ബ്ലാക്ക് ഹോളായിട്ട് പോയിട്ട് അത് അത്ര ഹൈലി ഡെൻസായിട്ട് അവിടെ ഇരുന്നോളൂ. പിന്നെ എപ്പോഴോ ഇത് പൊട്ടിയിട്ട് വീണ്ടും പ്രപഞ്ചം ഉണ്ടാവും. പിന്നെ ഇത് പോയിട്ട് it blasts and it becomes manifested world, and then at the end of manifestation something happens that it goes back. Surya, now the sun is expanding in its volume. After some time all the solar system will be inside the sun will be absorbed by the galaxies, and it goes on like that, and finally it dissolves. Not dissolving, it gets into a very highly dense and concentrated point whereby even light cannot emit from it. So it is as good as not existing. Very pinpoint volum കാണത്തില്ല. It will have such a concentrated energy, and then after maybe millions of years it blasts, and then the universe starts again. So this idea was somewhere there in Sankhya. But at that time the idea of union is going back to Prakriti and stay in the Prakriti. അതുകൊണ്ടാണ് later philosophers has a chance to actually look and find out. They were not satisfied with this. And so many years, like almost 600 years, or maybe 400 to 500 years have passed with this idea, and that was adopted by all the existing philosophies and the subsequent philosophies. They were discussing on the basis of this. So in yoga philosophy, and he was looking whether there is a possibility for the nature to dissolve in Prakriti. That is what he searched. And he understood there is a possibility. There is a possibility. About this idea, and the extension of it is the idea of Prakriti Purusha Layana. And actually the basic root is from yoga philosophy. And then other existing philosophies like Shakteya tradition, Shaiva tradition, all these traditions, they took it. And then Prakriti Purusha Layanam was possible. And the union of Shiva and Shakti principle, they put it out in Kundalini Yoga. So it is like an evolving thing, and it will continue to evolve. This is not the end. Maybe not philosophers speculate things, scientists will go there and they find it out and they will put it out tomorrow. Something which we cannot imagine now.
Out of curiosity, so where are the Vedanta's place now then?
Vedanta, the end of Veda is coming during the time of Shankara. He put the cream of all the Upanishad teaching. Vedanta is the end of Veda. Vedanta, the end of Veda, they created all the cream thinking into Upanishadic form. So Upanishad is actually the Vedanta. There are 108 Upanishads, or maybe more. And this is the cream of human thinking. So they put it out in the form of different Upanishads. And then in all these Upanishads, they were talking about an idea of Brahman, the consciousness. And so the platform was set, and when Shankaracharya came, and he said, this is not possible. There is no two principle. There is only one principle, which is the source. There can never be two principles. And if you are feeling that there are two, it is your feeling. There is only one and no two. This is Advaita. And if you feel that there are more than one, it is your illusion and it is not existing. When it came to Shankara. And then it was a big leap. After 1,000 years, he came with this idea. And by the time, Buddhist philosophy was very prevalent here. And then they couldn't stand before him. The idea of emptiness and duality, they couldn't stand before him. In arguments, he almost ran over everybody. And you have seen the history also. In the history, they got very upset because their knowledge is nothing, which is disproved by Shankara's time. So there were discussions in the places of kings, in palaces. They invite all the scholars, philosophers, spiritual masters at the time, during those years, and they used to have discussions. And Shankara was participating in these discussions, and he proved that there is no two, there is only one, and there is no possibility for two. And then the Advaita philosophers, they couldn't stand before him in arguments. And he won over the arguments, and they started to feel that their life was really wasted or something. It was not, maybe they felt sad about the defeat. And some of them went and killed themselves. They committed suicide also. So it's all a power game at the end in that way. But anyway, this is how the thinking, human thinking was evolving. So from this base, yoga philosophy came. When it came to Patanjali, he was thinking whether it is ultimate or whether there is a possibility for Prakriti to dissolve in Purusha. And he found that Prakriti evolved from Purusha. But at the same time, it was well established that Purusha is not involved in anything. So nothing can come out of this. Nothing can come out. In Sankhya, when you look into this, you see the collaboration of Prakriti and Purusha. Nowadays, when you are looking in the evolving principle of Prakriti and Purusha, you cannot agree with the idea that is proposed by Sankhya that they work somehow. Like a blind man is led by a lame man. So they work together for the union. This idea was there. For the union means go back into the source and remain there. ഇതൊരു വലിയ ഉപമയാണ് ഇവരുടെ സാഖ്യ. They collaborate. But at the same time, in the advanced thinking, they said that Purusha was not involving in anything. It could never involve. It is the witness, the eternal witness. Witness is not involving. Nowadays, when you go into the philosophies, you see that, Prakriti Purusha Layanam is possible because it is made by philosophers, later philosophers. And then these two ideas are collaborating. This idea is also there, Prakriti and Purusha. But there is a confusion in that. For many people in their writing, when you look, there is a big confusion that sometimes they say Purusha as the witness. Sometimes you see that Purusha is collaborating with Prakriti for the creation. So these are all elements which were invented or discovered by masters in olden time. Nowadays, everything is there. So when you are working on it, you need to have a sharp focus to understand and feel the time position in which these different philosophies came. When you look there, you can get a very clear understanding that now everything is mixed. So at the time when Sankhya was talking, there was no Prakriti Purusha Samyoga. There is no union between Prakriti and Purusha. So when you study Sankhya, you need to stay there and study Sankhya. Otherwise, the understanding which we have will come and it supports Sankhya. Sankhya cannot be supported in this way. That is part of a different philosophy, advanced philosophy. But all the other ingredients were taken from Sankhya by yoga, by Ayurveda, all the subsequent philosophies. Even Shaktaya traditions, Shaiva traditions, all traditions have taken it. They improved their philosophy. Vedam idine mumbe undu. Adana ancient ritualistic tradition actually. And it is, when you look, it is very interesting because then the Aryan Dravidian mixing that you can see there. There were, at the time of Vedas, there were certain deities worshipped by the Dravidians, and they have the Dravidian gods. In the Indus Valley area, Dravidians were living. And migrants came, Aryans, they have weapons, and they came there, and then they killed everybody. And some of the people, they ran away for life to the southern part and the eastern part. They escaped. And they came and settled into South India, in Tamil Nadu mainly. And they were very great settled people. They are having their agriculture, their well-developed civilization, and everything was really, really tarnished. And they took over. And it was Indo-Gangetic plain was really a fertile ground where when you are traveling in the air, through the air, in the airplane, you can look when you are going through that way, Iran, Iraq, you see it is barren land actually, like Marubhumi. There is nothing. When you come, there is nothing. And then when you enter into Kashmir, the whole thing changes. You get into their affluence. So it was they were looking for a paradise. In their civilization, and you can read during Moses' time. And this was feeling to bring people to the paradise. But there were cliffs, there like an ocean, they have to cross it. And many of the masters, rulers, they tried it. And finally they came. And even before migrations were taking place and they were coming, Aryans were coming there, and they confronted with the local people. They had a big civilization, but they don't have weapons, peaceful people. And they were all killed, and some escaped towards the south, settled in the south. When you look at the history and the spirituality goes hand in hand. When you study the history and what happened at the time, is very, very interesting, very amazing. And then there was gods like Rudra, and there is Shiva. Shiva was a Dravidian god, Rudra was Aryan god. And now Rudra and Shiva are one. When this merger took place after some time, these two civilizations merged, and Shiva, and this name they accepted as the name of Lord Shiva. This is how it evolved. So it is a lot of interesting things. So it is not the ultimate thing, it's go on evolving. But now we have a lot of things, lot of information and practices and tools for us to further work on it, and maybe you will find something else. Maybe we will rely upon science to get the final answer. That may happen. Science is getting into a big religion in the minds of youngsters.